Yes, sir. I wanted to have a moment for the master, Jack DeJohnette.
Yes, indeed.
Start the show with that because we getting ready to talk some drums tonight. I've been waiting on this show for 3 years. We ain't got no keyboard players. We ain't got no. All we got is drummers, man.
As it should be, man.
Welcome to Local Musicians XP. What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are doing well. Of course, we lost the master Jack DeJohnette, so I wanted to open up the show and pay homage to him, and we'll talk a little bit about his influence as we get into the show. But I want to welcome my co-host, two of my favorite people, two of my favorite musicians. We got Mr. Frankie Quinones, all the way from Buffalo, New York, in the sweet specs. The sweet specs.
Oh, we gonna start early, okay?
No, I like them. I'm just saying, I like them.
All right,
I'm
okay.
not.
Yeah, I'm gonna start cooking something up over here for you.
I like them, man. I like you in the specs, man. We should rock those more often. Man. You should rock them more often. So and my man here, Mr. Robert Boone Jr.
What's going on? Good to see y'all, man.
Atlanta's
yes,
Augusta's finest, actually. Augusta's finest.
Augusta, Georgia.
So they are my trusty co-host for this evening. We got another cat that's normally on the show, but he's too busy finishing up his PhD and stuff like that, so he ain't got time for mere mortals at this point in his life. So we'll let him finish up on that, and then he will be back with us hopefully in a few weeks when he's done with that. But until then, we are going to have some fun. We're going to mix it up, and we're going to do as much drum talk as we can starting tonight. So if you guys haven't checked out the show before or are new to the show, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Share this show, share this stream podcast wherever you'd like to. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, and we are also obviously on YouTube if you are checking us out there. So let's get some stuff here out of the way. This cat at the bottom of the screen and we got something cooking for y'all this Sunday, as a matter of fact. This coming Sunday. Our second installment of Introduction to Latin Rhythms is going to be at the Academy Theater. We think we're going to have a nice little crowd. We got some dancers, some people that want to dance coming. So we are going to be talking about some stuff that we didn't in the first one. We're going to deal with a little bit more of the Cuban side, and we're going to get to a little bit of the Brazilian side as well. So should be a lot of fun. Bring your kids, bring your family, come and hang out with us. It's going to be a good time. And that starts at 6:30. So 6:30 to 8:30. And there's a QR code at the top of this screen. If you want to hit that QR code, it'll take you directly to academytheater.org, and you can purchase your tickets there. So looking forward to that, Mr. Quinones. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I think our first installment went really well. I think we found out quickly that the time we had wasn't enough to cover what we had prepared. What we had prepared, and shout out, to the drummers that opened up for us.
Yeah, I got drums with my Boto. Yeah,
Yeah, Kinaboto, man, him and his family. That was incredible,
yes, yes,
and just the time we had with the folks that came and supported was great. I mean, we could have went on and on and on. So I think a second installment was definitely needed. So
absolutely.
shout out to you for making it happen and putting it together. And so I'm looking forward to Sunday for sure.
Yeah, man, it's going to be it's definitely going to be a blast, man. So as you get these things kind of going, we have some other possibilities. I know there's some schools that have reached out to me, and so we're waiting on some dates to do that. Yeah, man. So I think we got a lot of cool stuff to share, man. So and then the man to my right, the busiest man in Atlanta.
Yes.
I've been trying to get him on the show, but every time I try to get him, he's in Japan, he's in Italy, he's in Germany.
Oh man, I wish that was true.
He's on a date. He's on a date with this lady, man, somewhere at the top of the Four Seasons Hotel, man.
Hey, I heard you got to make an appointment just to say hello.
Gotta make an appointment.
I don't know.
You know where to find him though. He's not hard. The thing is, he's not hard to find. He is the Deion Sanders of the drumming, Atlanta drumming. He ain't hard to find now. You can find him most times at the Red Light Jam session on Wednesdays. But he's all over the world with the fabulous Count Basie Orchestra and holding that chair down, as well as doing many other things. So welcome to the stage, Mr. Robert Boone Jr. What's going on, my man?
Good to see y'all, man. So happy to be here tonight. Finally, as Frankie said, I guess you're getting started early tonight with the jokes.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's gonna be plenty. It's gonna be plenty.
Get ready.
but the next man, I really meant that. I meant that from the bottom of my heart, man. I wasn't trying to throw any shade or anything, man. I like the specs look, man. That's all I was saying. Now, somebody that I know is usually got the specs on, but tonight he doesn't have the specs on. So what's up with that?
It's the glare.
Oh, the glare.
Screen,
Okay. I got you. So, man, we are going to chop it up about just a lot of drum stuff. I'm loving this because I have some questions prepared for y'all, and we're just gonna talk, man. We're gonna talk openly and freely. We're just gonna investigate tonight. We're gonna investigate. So, but going back to our lost master, I just want to say a few words about Jack. And funny story is that I kind of know his brother. When I was in LA, I was working at this shoe store, and this is like back in maybe 1989, 1990, and this cat walks in, and we're just talking, and I see he comes to pay for his his shoes and stuff, and I look at his card, and I see DeJeanette, and I said, I don't know how many DeJeanettes are out there, so I kind of looked at him, and I was like, man, are you related to? And he said, that's my brother. I didn't have to say his name. He's like, that's my brother. I was like, whoa. So I met his brother back in about 1990, and that was a nice little trip. But I started checking out Jack. I think with like my generation, most people got hip to him with the Keith Jarrett trio. So Standards Volume 1, Standards Volume 2, all that stuff. And then there was a DVD that came out, man. I can't remember what year that came out, but when that DVD came out, I must have watched that thing for just over and over for hours, checking this cat out. So But the legendary trio, Keith Jarrett trio with Gary Peacock and Jack DeJohnette, was my first sort of, hipness to the greatness. We'll just kind of go one by one. Robert, what was your introduction to Mr. DeJohnette?
Man, my introduction was actually in grad school for my comprehensive exams. You have to do this paper at the end of the degree. And basically you pick 3 faculty members and they each give you a question and blah blah blah. But one of my questions from Bill Peterson was to compare and contrast Jack DeJohnette from from Elvin Jones. And so I wrote a paper on it, and I had to do a transcription for both of them. Funny enough, I did the Jack DeJohnette transcription, and my teacher called me the next day and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I meant for you to do this other song by Jack DeJohnette." So I actually did 2 of them in the span of 24 hours trying to get it done. But all that to say, I learned a lot from him during that time, just checking out basically like how fluid he was around the kit, but also just how free he was with specifically the hi-hat. And there's a bunch of interviews with him, if you look online, about him talking about how he was thinking about using the hi-hat to kind of push the music forward, and not, because usually in jazz we just think 2 and 4 and just stay there the whole time. But he sometimes he wouldn't play it at all in the measure. Other times he played on all the upbeats, opens, splashes, sometimes just closed. I mean, just really using it as a voice. So that was like my biggest takeaway from him. And I try sometimes to implement that in my own playing, even though it doesn't always come out as fluently as
I was just gonna say that, man. That's one of my biggest goals is to get that hi-hat, displacing it in different, but man, I think it gets a little bit weird because depending on who you're playing with, it will throw them off. I don't know if you've had that experience, but so I'm always real sort of self-conscious about that unless I'm really playing with the right guys. But that was like one of my goals, man, is to get that going. Frankie, what about you, man? When was your first hit? When did you first get hip to
I got hip to Jack in high school. With the trio stuff he did with Keith Jarrett, Gary Peacock. And it was like really the clarity of everything that he played, like his cymbal, you could hear like every single part, almost like if it was like its own part, playing. And I always loved his trio stuff and his approach to it. But later on, I really got drawn to him because of the work that he did with my conga hero, Giovanni Hidalgo, and another percussion hero from Venezuela, Luisito Quintero. He had both of them in his band at one point. And it was insane to see a traditional player who could play a little bit. Jack played all kind of stuff. But to see him with those two, what I consider masters of Latin percussion and world percussion incorporated into what he was doing, was insane. And there's a record that he has with Luisito Quintero on it that's called Sound Travels. It came out around 2012. I might be wrong on the date. And that's incredible because I've always heard Luisito always play like in a salsa setting with cats like, Oscar de Leon, La India, and a plethora of salsa artists. But to hear him there, as a percussionist, I was like, oh, there is hope that you can play salsa and and also play this music at this high level, because I didn't know that side of Luisito. But when he got with Jack and they made that record, and that record took years to kind of come to fruition because they played many years before that. But I think they finally locked in like a good vibe and cut a record, and that record is incredible. I recommend it. Sound Travels, Jack DeJohnette, Luisito Quintero, and then the record he made with another one of my jazz heroes, Danilo Perez, and
Yeah, I
John
know that record
Patitucci.
well. Mm-hmm.
That record they made, and they made it like I've watched the documentary on YouTube. Go watch it. They made it like in the middle of a snowstorm in Woodstock, New York. I think it's home studio. They were like hunkered down because it was a snowstorm and just created this music that at first, when you see the documentary, it sounds like a bunch of just crazy ideas, but at the end, it's like this beautiful piece of music. And so, yeah, from the trio to the stuff he did with Giovanni, Luisito, to the Danilo stuff, it just showed to me like he wasn't just a jazz drummer, man. He was just a complete musician who was really open to play all kind of stuff. And even reading the Miles Davis autobiography in high school, and the stuff Miles was saying about how he was so great. He tried to bring his wife on tour. Just the crazy stories that you hear in that book, you kind of get the whole picture of who he was. But just an incredible, incredible cat, man. Incredible loss to us who really love this music, man. Just incredible. But he's got a legacy that is going to go on forever, man. He's got music for generations to come, man, and beyond that.
Well, he just had, again, all those cats back, they just had their own thing. Jack was different than Elvin. Elvin's different than Tony. Tony's different than Ed Blackwell. Ed Blackwell's different from Max. I mean, you can go on and on and on with all those cats being different, which is something that I feel like, we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, but it's like, what has happened to wanting to have your own thing, wanting to have, not wanting to sound like anybody else, I'm going to read it, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want to read this first paragraph that Herbie Hancock put on his Instagram. If you guys are on Instagram out there, I highly recommend go look at Herbie's post about Jack. I'm just going to read the first paragraph. And he says that I first met Jack when he was about 20. I brought him on as a bass player, not realizing he was usually hired as a drummer. But I already had a drummer. And then he's got a little a little emoji there, like a winking emoji. Or and he says, I learned in that time that what Jack really wanted to be was a piano player. He always played the drums with a pianist's sense of melody, color, and harmony. And that's what I think that's you can't say it any better, because he was a really good piano player as well. And I think he approached the drums with the piano kind of in mind. If you think about the way he would tune his drums, the way his cymbals sounded, he was definitely like trying to create scales within the drum set and within the cymbals. It's super obvious, man, if you listen to his tuning, the way he would tune his drums. But I if you guys want to go to Herbie's Instagram and read the rest of his words, it pretty much sums it up, man. So yeah, man, rest in peace.
Absolutely.
Master DeJohnette, man. So all right, man. So we're gonna get to this thing called drum talk. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. But I've got some topics that I want to cover, some stuff I want to ask you guys. We're gonna talk about some gear stuff. We're gonna talk about just some questions. So the first thing, and this is sort of a loaded question, but the state of drumming. As drummers, when we see what's kind of going on out there, which is I guess mostly in the YouTube and the social media world, and you know, a lot of visual stimulation. And the drums are a perfect instrument for that because um you know, what we do is really really super visual. So I get it. I get like it's kind of tailor made for drums, because it's a lot of action, you know, in terms of what we do. So, but I want to get you guys' opinion on just, you know, the state of drumming, the, you know, the, to be more specific, the impact that social media has sort of made on what we do. Do you all feel like it's a positive or a negative? I mean, we all have to do it as individual artists. We all have our own pages. We all have our own websites, yada, yada, yada. We all post our little solos or, you know, what we're doing and all that stuff. But let's start it with with you know, because you know Robert's he's still on the younger side, so his generation is super. This is like, you know, but you're kind of caught, Robert, because you're raised by a lot of older cats, and you're playing your main gig is with older cats, and so you're kind of caught in a unique in a unique space here that I really want to get your take on, man. So give your sort of you know, it doesn't have to be anything super long or super crazy, but how do you feel about like the state of drumming and kind of where we are, what our role is as a drummer? Has it changed from what it used to be? Or we, you know, it seems like we got a lot of lead drummers in music. That's what I hear a lot. So what's your opinion about that?
I think I think people are, like, a lot of drummers are drumming today. Like, people are kind of being as creative as ever, which is a good thing in certain pockets, right? I'm not talking about everybody, but there are pockets of people that we all like and follow who are pushing the creativity to another level. You know, with the whole incorporation of the SPDX pad, or all kind of electronics and triggers, and like D'Antoni when he's playing kind of half drum set, half MIDI controller, like that sort of thing. So on one hand, we do have a section of the drum community that is actually pushing and trying to do some creative things. And then there's like another side where it's just purely about just posting. If I got 30 seconds, I'm gonna try to play 3,000 notes quickly, and just and you know, I respect it, because I also I can't do some of that stuff. But there's like I feel like there's a way to do it while still being musical and not having it totally be about just showing off, and actually incorporating it in with music. One of the things I notice a lot about Instagram, like a lot of the drummers that have a ton of followers and you know, all the lights and stuff in the background when they're playing, I never see any footage of them playing actual shows or with anybody else. And you know, and that's fine. Like, you know, that's a whole career. The YouTube game has really taken off, so you can actually just have a career, oddly enough, as a musician and not ever really come in contact with any other musician. You can do it just from your basement. But I think we all know that's not the essence of what this music is about, or really any type of music, in my opinion. But I think that overall it's in a good space. I think it's up to those of us who are kind of mentors or in the teaching spaces to keep the students kind of grounded in a way to let them know, like, it's not always about just that little 30-second clip of your 3-hour gig, you know, that you posted. It's so easy to sound good in that 30 seconds and find that little sweet spot and edit out the part right afterwards where you drop the stick, or where, you know, you missed the one, or, you know, or you messed up the form, you know, the stuff that we know you should be kind of, you should be really addressing that stuff. That's why you should be recording yourself at gigs, to go back and study, not really to go find a little clip of, you know, you finally figured out that lick that you've been trying to figure out for 2 years. So it's a little bit, I mean, to me, it's like, it's a balance, and we all have our own personal kind of preference on how much we would like to see. But overall, it's in an okay spot, but I'm a little worried about where it's headed, Just, I mean, but that's everything with social media, not just drums.
All right, I like that. I like that statement. What about you, Frankie? What's your take on it?
Um, I agree with Boone. I think it's by generation. A lot of the younger cats are into the chop still, and that happens. Even when I was younger, I didn't care about the music. I didn't care about pocket. I cared about how many chops can I put into this 4 bar, 8 bar space that's given me. And I
Of
think
course.
I think that's important. Even though a lot of the older cats were like constantly beat me up, and in the Latino community, forget about it. It's brutal. I've heard church stories, but in the street Latino community, man, it's brutal. A lot of the older cats would constantly beat me up. Oh, you're overplaying. But I still think that that's important, because you're developing the player that you are eventually going to become, and we have to give the young cats the space to be creative, still be hard on them. Like, as much as I complain about those older cats beating me up, I'm super thankful. In Buffalo, I had Wendell Rivera, who is a hero of mine, and he constantly told me, "Man, you play way too hard, way too fast. You speed up the tempo. You playing too many notes. Your solos make no sense. You're not building. You're not telling me a story. I don't even know where you're from. I don't know if you're from Puerto Rico, Cuba, Africa. I don't know what. You have no identity in your playing. Yeah, this was like in 2 minutes, right? And I'm like 15, like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm just trying to play." So definitely beat up the young cats, And when I say beat up, be constructive, be positive. Some cats with me were very harsh, unfair, but be constructive, be positive. But I think that space is important. I think cats developing their sound, working their way through chops, learning the instrument, around the instrument, is very, very pivotal into the player that they eventually are going to become. And so you see that a lot on social media. You see that a lot, and that excites me, because that means cats are buying drums. Cats are listening to drummers, right? Cats are even going back and checking out Hardwire, Dave Weckl stuff. People are still buying the Dave Weckl. People are trying to learn, and we have to let the young cats figure that out. Same thing with percussion. Tito Puente didn't become Tito Puente overnight, and people pay attention to the Tito Puente solos and all the dancing he did, but the musicians understand who Tito Puente really was. Composer, producer, recorded 100+ records. I mean, backed up every artist that ever walked the planet for Latin music. I mean, he was so much more than all of that, but I didn't get to know that Tito Puente until I was like in my 20s. When I saw him on Valentine's Day in Boston, I went to see him perform, and I was like, this cat didn't even solo. And I was so pissed. I was like, man, this cat didn't even solo. Like, what I come here for? And I remember going backstage and complaining to Jose Madera, who was this conga player, like, man, he's the king. King of what? He didn't even solo. I remember being hot, man, like Puerto Rican hot, And Jose was like, "Hey, man, come here, man. I'm gonna introduce you. I'm gonna introduce you to the king, man." And he introduced, and I was still like starstruck. And he said, "What'd you think about the music tonight?" And I was a young student at Berkeley, so I said, "Well, it was cool." He said, "Cool." Yeah, like me telling Tito Puente, like, it was cool. Like, bro, am I crazy? And he said, "Cool." He goes, "Why'd you think it was cool?" I said, "Well, I heard great horn solos. and I heard your arrangements, hang gang gang, and this and that and the other, but you didn't solo. And so he said, man, you wasn't listening. I was soloing the whole night.
Mm.
I didn't play one bell pattern. He's like, man, you need to listen.
Mm.
And that's when I came into, oh, I need to listen. That was like a lesson, And I remember I tried to get his sticks from him. And he was like, nah, not until you listen, you ain't getting nothing. And that was a huge lesson for me. But at the same time, let's give the young cats their space to develop, build their sound, give them constructive criticism, give them feedback, give them love, because eventually they're going to go into the next phase, which is you actually are starting to play your instrument to support the music. And you will get your solo time, but your solo is going to be in support of what the music is versus what you hear today. Cats are playing something that's just not even within the realm of the song.
Right.
And I'm gonna use Boone as an example, man, and not because he's on here, but like I went to the jazz festival this summer, and I was like, he's playing with Joe and Joe Gransden, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna stick around, I'll hear, I hear the band a little bit, I hear some of my friends play, and it'll be cool, and I'll listen to a couple songs and leave. And I've heard, a lot of drummers playing the big band, with him, and that are friends of mine. I never heard Boone with him. And bro, when that band took off, I was like, I couldn't even move. I was like, I got to sit down and listen to this cat because, bro, he was swinging so hard and swinging so deep, right? Like this is the beat, he was like right in it. Bro, the band was swinging so hard. His solos were within the context of the song, and you heard who he was as a drummer, but I also heard his commitment to tradition. I heard so many drummers in his playing. I sat there the whole night. I had threw my plastic glass of wine out. Man, I opened the bottles bigger. And I was like, this dude has it. This dude understands what is happening, and what needs to happen. And I sat there, like they finished, walked off the stage, and I'm like, where y'all going? Like, but that's, to me, that's what a drummer should sound like. You know what I'm saying? I went to see Carla Harris at Jazz in the Alley, and I saw you a little with a different kit, Chris. You were playing, I think, a 20-inch, maybe a 22-inch, not sure, but it wasn't a jazz kit. I was sitting, I was like in the nosebleeds in the back, and I've heard you swing. I haven't heard you really. I've heard the Latin stuff because we've played together, but I heard a different side of you, and it's this dude's a drummer. He's playing funk. He's supporting the music. I don't even think you took a solo the whole night, at least while I was there. And I was like, this dude has it. You know what I'm saying? And you see other drummers like, and I'm talking Atlanta cats, J. Rod Sullivan. He's got gazillion followers. He will do the chop video all day. But I saw him with Jeffrey Osborne, bro, playing for the music. And I'm like, yeah, that cat understands what's going on. So it's by generation. For me, it's by generation.
Yeah.
The young cats are going to play. We got to let them play, let them develop into the players they need to be. But at the same time as, I'm 47, I support cats and give them constructive criticism and love.
Right.
But to answer your question, I think we're in a good place because more cats are playing, more cats are looking at other drummers, more cats are following other drummers. More young cats are actually going back and following the Omar Hakims, the Dave Weckos, the Earth, Wind, and Fire cats. They're following the Sonny Emerys. They're following, those old school, I'm not going to call them old school drummers, but drummers that have a commitment to tradition and innovation. And so I think we're in a good place.
Well, you hit on a couple of things. I mean, both you guys, and one of the things that we talked about that was brought up by both y'all was listening, man. And I think that yes, I think it's a generational thing, because we didn't have to post on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube. We didn't have that in the front of our brains all the time. I can't even imagine like trying to be, 15, 16, but I'm watching millions of people and millions of clips, and you can't help but compare yourself to what you're seeing, and that's like so that's something that, I can't relate to that. And I always say, like, I always try to give them a pass on a lot of stuff, because I'm like, man, can you imagine if all this stuff was around when you were just trying to figure it out, And I think that what happens a lot is things kind of start to get out of balance, because it's super hard to, a lot of what we do, and anyone who is working on a skill, man, the majority of the time, you're going to be doing it by yourself. There is nobody else in the room. There's nobody there to say, hey, you got to keep going. Don't stop. That's all on you. It's all on you to have that like self motivation. And a lot of times, the self motivation thing comes from what? It comes from passion. It's like, how passionate are you about whatever it is that you're doing? Do you love what you're doing, or do you love what it's doing for you? So those are the questions I always ask, younger guys. It's like, well, I mean, are you really passionate about this, about becoming the best you can, or do you just love what it's doing for you in your everyday life? Because those are a couple things that there's a big difference between those two. But listening, man, we did so much listening. There was no other distractions. It's like you with a pair of headphones and a record and just listening over and over and over and over again. Or you would go see somebody play. Hopefully you go to a concert, or somebody was coming through your city and playing a local club or something, and you got to actually go see this cat live, but you weren't recording them. There was no device, maybe some cats were in there bootlegging with a tape recorder and stuff, but in terms of visual, there was none of that, man. So you had to take snapshots of whatever it was that you were seeing firsthand, and you would try to remember these things. And then you would get home or the next day or whatever, and you might recall something that happened, and you're trying to figure that out on your own, which is damn near impossible. But what it did was it gave you a seed, and then you came up with something of your own that was in that vibe, whatever that was that you heard. And I know it sounded like he was doing some kind of triplet thing, but let me see how I can't remember what the voice. So all of those things lead to, in my opinion, that leads to more individuality. It leads to more of your own voice, instead of copying verbatim whatever it is that you're seeing, which to me it's a big problem, because like it's easy to do that. It's easy to copy what somebody else, but cats used to get reprimanded for that, man. You used to get like, man, that's somebody else's thing. I heard, nah, you got to come up with something else. Like copying was like super forbidden, man. Like the cats that I used to play with, it was like, no, they would, you would obviously shed to the records, or you would learn the grooves or whatever. But when it came to like trying to figure out that was like, man, and I heard that on all the other cats playing other instruments. But oh man, he just sound like so-and-so. He ain't got nothing. He ain't got his own thing. So as a younger musician, do you guys have any advice on how to break that sort of like, you know, the whatever that is, the peer pressure of like wanting to get the likes and the how and want everybody to say you're killing and all the fire emojis and all that stuff, and like just, man, I gotta try to figure out what I am. You guys got any advice? Frankie, I'm gonna start with you.
I think the advice is get the gig. You know what I mean? The likes are not going to get you a gig. The views are not always going to get you a gig. I know a lot of cats with a lot, I mean, tens of thousands of followers, and 100,000 likes, you know, even some up to 1 million views on a video, and can't really get a gig. You know, I'm being honest. And I'm not saying all of them, you know, right, but a good amount like can't get a gig. And I think my advice is prepare for the gig. Don't prepare for the likes. Don't prepare for the follows, because you can't always monetize that. You know, there's only a few cats that can monetize that. And because they get creative with merch, and you know, they can get booked on festivals, drum festivals, and you know, but not everybody can monetize that. And so the thing is prepare for the gig. You know, prepare yourself as a musician to get the gig. You know, whether that's a weekly gig, whether that's a monthly gig, whatever, you know, prepare yourself for the gig. I am the first to say I am terrible at social media. I'll post stuff just because it's the thing to do. I am not a genius of it. I don't think I have 2,000 followers, you know, but one thing is I am working here in Atlanta and get opportunities, you know, to go on the road, but I am working week in, week out, whether that's a gig, whether that's a session here in my little home studio, because I just prepare myself for the gig. Right. I don't prepare for the likes. I don't prepare for, you know, and I had a cat tell me the other day, not too long ago, you know, I ain't gonna mention the name because we all know the cat. But he's like, man, you always post your solos, not grooves, and not this, and like critiquing my post. And I'm like, and I was soaking for a while because I was like, you know, and then like I was talking to another music friend of mine. He's like, man, has the cat ever called you for a gig?
That's right.
And I was like, no. And he was like, what you what you worried about?
Yeah.
You know, the people that are calling you is because you've prepared for their gig, for their music, for their event, whatever, what have you. So that's my advice. You know, social media is great. If you can monetize it, God bless you. Do your thing. But first and foremost, prepare for the gig, man. Prepare for the music.
All right, Robert, what about you?
Man, so even with some of my students, I talk about this a lot. And because of social media and they're trying to have their own lane, they kind of go away from actually studying other folks in an effort to not sound like anybody else. But what I try to express to them is like, you're actually doing the opposite. You should study all these different types of drummers. Because, I mean, I was explaining today, right before a student came in, I was practicing like 2 bass hit or something, just going over the solo part. And he came in, he's like, oh man, that sounds great. Why are you practicing that? I'm like, I just go over all the transcriptions that I've ever done. I just randomly check in on them sometimes to see if I can still play them or not. But every time I do that, I hear something different. I figure something else out about the transcription that I can then take and make it my own. So it gets back to this whole point about transcriptions with students. Like a lot of students now, they don't really see the benefit of studying, like kind of what you were saying, Chris, like taking what you hear someone play and then going to try to figure it out. And then, but what I try to express also is that that's not where it stops. You don't just play it back, and then every time you go out to a jam session, you play that solo down, and like that's it. You have to take it, sit with it for a while, then flip it and do your own thing with it. All right, he started this phrase on the end of one. Let me see what it sounds like if I start it right on the downbeat. Just little things like that. So I think that a lot of people are everybody's got the same end goal of not wanting to sound like anybody and just, sound like yourself and be awesome and all this stuff. But for some people, it's really easy because they're just naturally born with a different way to hear the music. Others of us have to, scratch and claw and try to figure out our lane within such an oversaturated drum market. And that's another thing too. It's kind of like the dunk contest with the NBA. Like, I think we've already hit the cap with that because there's people on the internet who dunk all day, every day. They don't shoot threes. They don't pass. They don't do anything.
That's a good analogy.
All they do is dunk. So of course we've already seen pretty much like some of the most creative dunks, and that'll never be in the dunk contest. So when we watch the dunk contest, it's like, okay, yeah, but I saw the guy downtown Atlanta with 300,000 followers and no NBA contract. He did that dunk the other day off one leg, or whatever, something like that. But thinking about that in terms of like drumming, there's so many drummers online, and I don't even know like how people figure out which ones they want to follow or not, because there's so many people that sound great, but you'll see like the most killing drummer ever, and he's got like 20 followers. So it's not always about follower count. Like I saw this on an interview once. It was like, people get bummed out if they post a video and they only get 50 likes. If you have 50 people come up to you tomorrow and say, hey, nice shirt. If you have 50 people come up to you and say that, most likely you're going to wear that shirt again. You think that's a great shirt, right?
Right.
But online, we've got this mentality that if it's not, thousands of views and, with a lot of blue checks and all this stuff, that is somehow not worthy of any type of notoriety, or it's not good, actually. I'll just say that. But you've got to break that cycle of thinking that likes equal value, because it's really not. It's just so much more that goes into the social media machine and how Instagram works. And if you pay for this sponsored ad, then it goes more places. If you don't pay, then they kind of restrict your access to other people that, the hashtag thing used to work for a long time, but they've even got that gated off now. So, you got to have a strategy, and the people that do, I really take my hat off to them. But it's just not really where my heart is at most of the time.
Yeah, content creation's a real thing, man. Don't get it. I mean, you can't hate on a serious content creator, because, man, those people that do content creation, man, that is a job. They have turned that into a job and have spent a lot, just like we practice. That's what they're doing. They're doing the same thing, the same amount of hours, but they're doing that. So it's easy to get frustrated by it. But if you want to get into the content creation space, that's a whole nother thing. You're not a content creator. You're a musician that is posting, hopefully, to, I don't know. It's almost like you just want to kind of be a part of the community, I think, sometimes, but you can't judge every video that you make on necessarily how many likes it gets. That's kind of unrealistic, man.
Yeah. But I think another thing too is like, I look at Instagram as, cause I do this too. If someone calls me for a gig and I don't know this person, I go to Instagram, I go to their page and try to see what they sound like. So, and then if it's a musician and they have nothing on, I invented that. But really, I mean, like if I go to a musician's page and they have nothing music related, I'm like, that's kind of a red flag. I mean, it can be perceived that way, but and maybe I shouldn't take it as a red flag, but a lot of times, so I just try to have, like, when I think about my own page, I'm like, I have a good mix of stuff, some solo stuff, some time stuff, some swing, some funk, whatever. I mean, just showcasing like what you can do. But it's interesting though. It's very interesting.
Man, YouTube has saved me from many a situation. And well, while we're talking about that, there's a certain subject I really want to talk with you guys about, because playing in different configurations, if you will, right? Like, we all play a lot of sort of jazz-based music, but we also play in very pop-oriented commercial type situations too, where it has nothing to do with drum solos. It has nothing to do with chops. It has nothing. It's about playing the songs. A lot of times you're playing with a click track, or you're playing with loops or some type of sequencer, which is a whole different ball game. And but the gig specifically that I kind of want to talk about, because I was having a conversation with someone the other day that was shying away from playing with the musicians that we're about to talk. And I said, well, you realize that that's going to be a big part of who calls you for gigs. And I'm talking about singers, right? So, which is a different, it's a different thing. I had to learn the hard way. I mean, I could tell stories of me getting fired from, especially like when I started trying to play with jazz singers or jazz vocalists. I had no experience with that. I did not know how to do it. I didn't know anything about really. I've been playing with horn players where you're just, a lot of times it's like, let's go. It's balls. It's like you're just throwing stuff at each other all the time. And it's a whole different thing though, playing with vocalists, and like I said, I mean, a good friend who I am very good friends with her. She probably doesn't want me to say her name, but I remember playing with her at church, playing with the singer at Churchill Grounds, and I think I did maybe one or two, and then the next time she came around, she had another drummer on the gig, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute now. What's up with this? And just, slowly through the grapevine, I began to hear, I was like, you might be a little bit too loud, bro, to play with a singer, especially a female singer. So I was like, what? I was like, nah, man, I don't think so, but then as a learning experience, man, you have to be humble, and you have to be honest with yourself. That's one thing that if I could tell young guys, it's like, man, if somebody that is telling you something and you respect that person, listen to what they're saying, man, because they're trying to help you. It's hard to police yourself, especially when you're younger, or when you got all that testosterone going, man. You trying to fit in every Elvin lick, every Billy Cobham lick, every Vinnie Colaiuta lick that every Giovanni, wrote everything,
Mm-hmm.
But when you play with vocalists, man, it is a different ball game. And, and I had some great experience with the great Carmen Bradford that showed me that, wow, okay, I can now do this because I am making her very happy with what I'm doing. And that, Carmen's probably the greatest, I mean, in my opinion, greatest jazz vocalist on the planet. And but it took me it was a long journey, man, to get to that point, to be able to hang there. So what's you guys' experience with vocalists, guys, and singers? And start with you, Robert. What's, you got anything interesting there that you
I mean, yeah, I've learned a lot from I don't want it to all be negative, but I have learned a lot from from working with a lot of vocalists here, and just like while traveling and doing different things. The volume thing is number one for me. I speak from my own experience, but volume has always been number one, and also just learning how to decipher what it is that they actually want you to do. And I actually had a lesson with Jeff Hamilton about this. He, we were talking and playing some stuff, and he was like, "Okay, check this out." Oh, there we go. Yeah, hey Tia, how you doing?
Here we go.
Exactly. So so I'm taking this lesson with Jeff Hamilton, and he tells me, check this out. Sometimes you'll work with the singer, and they won't know how to tell you. They don't know it's called the pointy on a beat, but they might turn around to you and go, "It's supposed to go like something like that," and it's up to you to take that and make it happen. Whether it's like correct or it might not be the most technically accurate thing that they're singing or saying. They may be calling it a bossa, and it's actually a something else, like whatever. Right, or they might be singing something. This is in 3, and they're singing, and it's in 7. It's like, okay, that's where you can kind of get into the prideful thing where you feel like it's your job to step up and say, well, no, actually, what you're saying is wrong, and blah, blah, blah. And it's, at the end of the day, you grow up and you realize, like, it's really not even worth it. And we're all after the same thing, hopefully, hopefully we're all after trying to just make the music happen and make it sound cool. So skip the pride part and just take what it is that they're trying to tell you and actually just try to make it happen. And then also, just as a little caveat too, big band wise, working with singers is a lot different too. And speaking of Carmen, as y'all know, Carmen is with the Basie Orchestra. So my first or second time playing with her with the band, I remember she was singing, and she turned around, and I will never forget the look she gave me, because it was such a scowl of like how when you get in trouble with your parents and your mom is across the room, but y'all somewhere quiet so she can't say anything, but you get that look, and that look means you need to tighten it up. So I was just playing too loud, but she pulled me to the side later, and what she was saying was, in the big band, the louder you are, the louder the horns are going to get, and then that means everybody's getting louder than me. When in reality, this is it's her feature. She's singing the tune, so you have to play it in a way to where you're supportive, but you're not overplaying. And so I just take that concept anytime I'm playing with pretty much any vocalist, and just try to do my best to support them, whatever that may be. Whether that means, maybe they did count out the tempo wrong. Maybe they didn't actually mean for it to be a swing feel. Maybe it was supposed to be this. But whatever, things happen, because I'm not perfect either. I mess stuff up all the time. So some of the I think that we as instrumentalists, some of the grace that we extend to other instrumentalists, we could extend that to the singers as well. That's it.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we're problem fixers. You have to be a problem fixer as a drummer, because stuff can go left real quick, depending on, and it's not anybody's fault. It's just this cat heard it this way. Somebody didn't hear the count off correctly. And
we were just talking about this actually. Yeah. Talking about with that Jack DeJohnette hi-hat thing, right? Like if you start to do that with some musicians, it's not going to work, because they hear that they're so used to hearing the hi-hat on 2 and 4.
Right.
When you put it on a different beat, it's like they think they're lost, and they start to move around,
right,
to accommodate what they think they heard. So you're exactly spot on with that point.
You have to make you make a decision what's best for the music, and it's not about you. Okay, I want to do this. Well, but that's making everybody else sound like crap. So is it worth it to get what you want, and then everybody else can't play? Right. So those are decisions that we have to make. But what in the Latin world, Frankie, because you deal with, I do the singers first, but you also sometimes got to deal with dancers too. So you're like policing a whole. Then if y'all got a horn, you got a lot of responsibility, man, in the Latin world. um with this kind of stuff. But let's just quickly just give me a little, working with singers in that world. Is that a challenge?
It is because like in the salsa world, um, every singer has it depends on how they sing, and if they're ahead of the beat with their singing, they want you to play behind. So you're not
Mm.
rushing them. You're keeping them in the pocket. If they tend to be a little bit behind, they kind of want you to play a little bit ahead so that the tune is not dragging. Um, and every singer has, their favorite conga player. And so singers come into town or you're playing with somebody, you know, and I've been fortunate enough to play, with some of the top salsa artists, and the guy who's recorded all their stuff is a Mark Quinones or a Bobby Allende or Gachito
Mm.
Thompson, rest in peace, or Jimmy Morales from Puerto Rico, you know, um, or Juicy Juicino out of New York, or even Luisito Roberto Quintero. So you have to be well versed in how
Mm.
all these cats play.
Interesting.
You got to have the Bobby tumbao down. All these cats, you got to have their tumbao patterns down. You got to have their feel down, their sound down, because that's what they're looking for. And you're there because obviously they can't get a Bobby, right? Bobby can't come to Atlanta for what they're paying. You know what I
You
mean?
can't.
I'm
You
just being
can't. You
honest.
sure? You can't. You can't. You can't make it.
You can't make it. You know what I mean? And so the reason why I'm blessed enough to get the cause is that I've studied these cats. I've studied their sound. And like if I'm, if I'm playing, I played with, El Canario, major salsa artist. He'll look back and he'll like, yeah, you study Juicy. He knows. And I'm like, yeah, not only as I study Juicy, but I became friends with Juicy. How you play this stuff? Like, you know, um, and it's you have to know these styles. That's what they're looking for.
Is that nuanced, man? Like
It really is, bro. It really is. Like
man,
every
crazy.
single note of the left hand has to be a certain way. And it's not that they're looking at your hands. They're trying to hear.
Yep.
And they're listening to that tumbao. A lot of the cats and boys, you don't sound like Jimmy Morales, you won't get called again,
Mm.
And so you have to know all these nuances, and it's a lot of pressure. And for these gigs, the percussionist 95% of the time gets no music.
Mm.
There's no music. It's not like the jazz world or the pop where everybody gets music. Percussionists in salsa, 95% of the time, we are not getting any music. So you're going to YouTube to learn the live show, not the
Wow.
record. The record's different. They want you to
Right.
go to YouTube and learn the live show. So you're going to YouTube and transcribing the show, like top to bottom, and when you learn that live show, they'll know if you did your homework or not. So you got to sound like the guy who recorded the record. On top of that, know the live show.
What's the
And
reason
so,
for not getting the music though, man? That's kind of
bro, this is for real, for real. It's this three thing. Salsa, for the longest time, they've always borrowed musicians from the jazz world. The horns players have always come from the jazz
yeah.
world,
Right.
and you need to have music for them. The street guys, most of them didn't read music anyway, so why are we gonna write music for the percussion cats? But if you're doing a show, a whole show top to bottom with between 15 20 songs, and it's a live show, not the record. Like I always go out of my way to sit down and chart it out top to bottom. You know, transitions, everything, just top to bottom. So it's a very demanding. Salsa musicians, I'm gonna say it loud here. We do not get paid enough for what we have to prepare for. You know, and the ticket sales for salsa will be up, but what the musicians get is low for what you have to
Mm,
put in to
Yeah.
play. That's a whole nother podcast. We could have a whole
Right.
nother podcast. But the singers, it's very demanding for salsa,
right,
you know,
right.
and you got to play with power. You are the drummer in the band, you know, so very, very demanding, very demanding.
Mm.
I think over the years of playing with different vocalists, especially like in different genres, um, they all seem to have, I think, just kind of like what you were saying, Frankie, in salsa music, they have their favorite cats, man, that they like,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. And I think singers in particular, I mean, everybody's kind of like that with drummers, anyway, but like singers in particular, man, they really, the drummer is their backbone. So, and when they get a different a cat, I mean, you can have a different cat. He's completely killing. Everything is like world class, but he just has a different feel than the cat that she's used to or he's used to, and it's no fault of anybody. It's just they like that comfort zone a lot. That's one thing that I've noticed about vocalists is they get very comfortable with certain things. I think Lava High is like that with you, Robert. She's very comfortable with you. I'm starting to kind of do some things with her, and I can just tell she's not as used to what how I go about doing things. It's just the nature of the business, man. It's like we have completely different concepts about some different thing. Both killing, both completely cool,
Mhm.
but vocalists, a lot of they're looking for certain, I don't want to say cues, but they're just a certain comfort zone that they get with drummers. And I've over the years, I've come to realize that man, they're just not used to me. Or it could be vice versa. It could be somebody else that I'm in the seat and somebody subs for me, or somebody else has to come in and play, and it's just a different thing. And it's like it's something about that just throws them off. I feel like, man, we're very flexible. Like we play with different bass players all the time. We play with different, a lot of times we'll get to that in a minute, but it's like kind of it's just like, we just adapt, man. You just adapt. It's like, okay, this is gonna go this way tonight. This is where it is. It's all good. But I think that's I want to get some vocalists on to talk about drummers too, because I think that's helpful, because a lot of times you don't know what they're thinking, dude. That's one thing I'm always like, man, I have no idea what this person what they're thinking, but you can tell that they are not digging what's happening right now, but
Right.
they can't tell you necessarily maybe what that is. So
I think sometimes it's reps too. Like like we mentioned Lava High. Like I play with her in like a few different
mm-hmm,
types of ensembles.
mm-hmm,
So, but through that, no matter what the genre of music is, I can kind of tell. Like, like for example, all singers have different cues for when they're trying to do different things. Um, like like bridge for some people is this, or some people do this,
mm-hmm,
or
mm-hmm,
they
mm-hmm.
they hold up a tube because it's the second section of the song. I don't
Or
know
they give you the wrong signal.
exactly. So it's just a lot of it is trying to figure out that lane of communication with each individual vocalist, because it's tough to do, but over time it gets better. Obviously, just because you're doing it more.
Absolutely,
Uh,
man.
so
Absolutely.
and then also it helps because I ask Lava High too. I'm like, hey, uh, when you do this soon, what are you listening for? Because I notice you when we're coming in on this part, we're never together. So what are you listening for to make sure Or what do you need from me to make sure that we come in right? You know, it's okay to have those conversations. And I think sometimes a lot of people get like, okay, like there really is like this true thing about people have this perception of that they're like instrumentalists and singers. And really, I mean, if we're all in the same band together, we should be mixing together and be talking about this stuff. You can't just be the instrumentalist talking and then we just hope that when we get with the vocalist, it's all going to come together, because most times that does not happen. So it's more of it needs to be more collaborative. And once you enter that space, then you lose the pride of it, and you actually can be open to what they're saying. That when they're telling you to try to do something different, you're open to it, as opposed to thinking that this person doesn't know what they're talking about. You know?
Right. And I like what you said about the reps. It's just, you know, getting the reps with that person and understanding their language a lot of times is like, you know, it's super helpful, man. And then don't even throw yourself into when you're working with multiple singers at the same time. Like, you know, have you done those shows where there's like, I'm not even talking about like, I mean, it could be either you're working separately on their projects or on their gigs at you know, like within like the same time frame, or you got multiple singers on the same show. Oh right. My gosh.
Yeah.
That is a trip, man, is when you're doing that. But I think we've covered that. We don't want to go too heavy. I just wanted to get y'all's little opinion about that. I think that's a worthy conversation. So we have a few comments. Who is this cat, man? Never heard of him. Let's see. One of my favorite shows, especially since a certain pianist is not on there. I don't know who he's talking about, but whoever you are, sir, thank you for your comment there. What about this one? Tracy Williams, kind of sounds like a church gig preparation, overworked and underpaid. I think this is in relation to what Frankie was talking about, the salsa thing, but the reward is the admiration of your skill and gift. And nobody want no admiration. Kidding, Tracy. Let's see here. Do we have any other? I guess we haven't really acknowledged the chat. What's going on, Landon? Bad boy right here. Yeah. Bad drummer. Yeah. Lando, what's going on, man? Another cat. Justice.
Yeah. Justice Mike.
Bad cat. Bad cat. Yes, sir.
A lot of bad cats in the chat. John Lamatina. What's going on, John? How are you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Fontaine, the saxophone extraordinaire. What's going on? Yeah, and Nick, the double duty, sax and drums right here. Sax and drums.
Yep.
So, yeah, man. And Martin also says hello, everyone, who is Nick's father. So thanks, cool. Guys. Okay, we got. See, man, you got to watch cats in the chat, man, because they will just constantly throw stuff at you. And try to throw you off. And Tia, we got our acknowledged great Tia. We threw up her comment before. This was classic. Here we go. Drummers. All right, we're gonna leave singers alone. And we're gonna get to the cat that's supposed to be working with us, and sometimes it's working against us, brothers. Sometimes it's working against us. Bass players. So this is an interesting topic, because depending on what style of music you're playing, you got a whole different set of rules, man. You got a whole different set of rules. Upright players, and then you play with like an old school funk cat. It's like, you know, you have some different things. So understanding the language, understanding the rules. You can't just play the same way with everybody. I think Robert and I have had some conversations about this. Frankie, I got to get your take on some on bass players, because in the salsa world, the tumbao is king. So
yeah,
and there's probably infinite ways to play the tumbao, right? So I guess the king of the tumbao would be Kuchao, and what he was laying down taught everybody kind of, I guess, how to play the tumbao. But like modern, I don't listen to a lot of modern salsa, man. So I'm really interested to get your opinion on bass players in 2025, and what are the rules there, man? Like how busy are they? Are they just really sticking to the bread and butter? What's the rules in the salsa world with the bass players?
The rules are bending. They're bending a little bit more because the music is getting a lot more interesting, innovative, and I think it's the natural progressive of anything, right? Everything moves forward. But like you said, Gachao is the master bassist who kind of defined, mambo and what playing in clave really should sound like. But more modern masters, I think, for a lot of the modern bass players is Mr. Sad Cuevas, who has passed, but he recorded all the Fania stuff, and his stuff is incredible. I mean, incredible.
Funky player.
It's in clave, but I think because he was a New Yorican, or spent a lot of time in New York, he had a lot of soul.
Funky. He was funky.
Oh man, funky. He was so funky in his playing. Another one that really easily went from Latin to jazz on upright, who people don't talk a lot about, is Andy Gonzalez.
Absolutely.
Jerry Gonzalez's brother. Man, that dude, forget about it. Another level. More modern players. One of my favorites is Ruben Rodriguez. Recorded most of the salsa you hear from the 90s, and even now it's all Ruben. And people don't know that he's also an incredible jazz player. On top of that, the young great Carlos Enriquez from Jazz Lincoln Center. He swings so traditional and gets into the Latin groove like ain't nobody's business.
Man, he's hardcore, man.
Yeah, and I wish. I mean, I don't really know him personally, but I wish he would do a lot more Latin stuff. I think the world needs more of his Latin playing, because he's really coming out of that Gachao, Side Cuevas, Andy Gonzalez, Ruben school. Like Andy, Ruben, Side, those were like almost like his mentors growing up. So I want to see more salsa from him. But it's really having a good concept of clave. And I know you and I have had our conversations about clave, and but having a very good concept of timing with clave, and a good concept of conga playing, what the conga player is doing, what the percussion is doing. Percussion and bass and salsa music, Latin music go hand in hand. It is a language that a lot of the modern cats they play it, but I feel like it's being lost a little bit. Not that it's completely lost, but it's being lost just a little bit. But another great Cuban bass player out of Cuba, Alain Perez, who right now is changing the landscape of what even salsa should even be. And he's singing and playing bass. And because he's also a percussionist, his concept of what he's playing on the bass is incredible. But for me, it's really having a good concept of clave, a good concept of what is happening with the percussion. And it's not about overplaying or playing a lot of notes. It's about playing a groove, because in Latin music, we are there for one to serve the singer, what the singer is saying lyrically, making sure that that gets conveyed first, and then making sure the people do not stop dancing. If they stop dancing, you are not swinging. They have to keep dancing, and that's the first indicator. If they stop dancing, I'm not saying you're trash, but you need to revisit. You need to revisit what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, that's what it is.
Yeah. All right. What about you, Robert? What's
Well, like speaking, like I guess more on the traditional jazz side, like our relationship with the bass player, uh, a lot of it comes from the bass drum, because that was really kind of the first bass amp in a lot of ways when you think about it, and the whole feathering the bass drum, and some bass players don't like that. Some bass players do. But it's because I've had people say, well, why are you playing the bass drum on all four quarter notes? I'm like, I'm just feathering, and so if they don't, but there was one instance where someone said that to me, and it actually made sense, because he was taking more of kind of like a Scott LaFaro approach, where it's really, you're not really walking in quarter notes. It's just a lot more active and more busy. So, and his point was that, why are you feathering four on the floor if the bass player is not even playing that? What are you actually matching with? And I'm like, okay, fair. So that was the one. But every other time it's been told to me like that, there hasn't really been a reason other than, I don't know. There just wasn't really a legitimate reason. So a lot of times I feel like bass and drummers, we have to, we both have our own concepts and approaches, and how maybe even leading into a song, maybe thinking about how we want it to sound or how it should sound. We've all got our different ideas, but at the end of the day, we have to come to some sort of agreement on the pulse, the feel, how aggressively we're going to play the tune, how all these types of things that we have to just do. And I think we take a lot of it for granted because we do it. Like, I mean, I know y'all do it, but we do it so often every day. Like you were saying, we have to play with the different, you play 5 gigs in a week, you might play with 5 different bass players. Or maybe you repeat one if you're lucky. But so it really is a situation where every time you play, you're having to on the spot figure out, all right, this bass player has this different approach. So how can I best serve the group and make that sound good? I talked to Leon about this when I was in school, and he was just saying I was having issues with a bass player outside of school on some gig or something. And I was asking him, I'm like, I just I can't get him to change his concept or to meet me in the middle anywhere. So he was like, well, you got to go check out who that guy listened to and hear what the drummers were doing behind them to kind of play with that time. And I think that goes back to what I said, when we first started out, like, don't be afraid to do the work. Studying different cats, studying different approaches, not just always studying people's solos, right? Like, if you're on a gig, it's 3 hours long. How much of that gig do you think is going to be drum solos? Unless you're at a jam session, probably 5 to 10% of that gig, maybe, and that's probably even high. You might get one solo at the very end. So it just makes more sense when you're practicing to check out how people play time, how people are. Okay, what's the difference between a 2 feel and a 4 feel? How do you know when to do which one? How do you know when to change? When are the spots that it could happen? All these things that we kind of take for granted, but a lot of people don't check it out that deeply. So when they get into a situation with a bass player that has a different concept, it clashes the whole time because nobody's willing to bend, and also you're not really making a concerted effort to try to make it work because you're so stubborn and like. I was this way too. I got my way. I want to do it, and let's do it this way. But it takes a long time to get that maturity to understand. You got to really, truly have to meet in the middle to kind of make the music work.
I got a question about that.
Yeah.
Do you have to meet in the middle? Because
well, that's a fair question for sure.
because my thing is this, man. Like, I mean, I get what Leon told you about. You got to check out what that cat's. But I'm like this, man. I mean, eventually they got to play with the drummer, man. It's because and there are some really great bass players in this town, obviously upright and electric players, and I can everybody has a different feel. Kevin has has his own thing. Tommy Sauter has his own thing. Craig has his own thing. Joel has his. They don't. All four of those cats. They don't play anything alike. Their feel is different. Their sound is different. They're all incredible and my favorites. And I love all those guys. And there's others, Kelly, and there's other great but everybody's so different, man. If we continue to change to fit what they're doing, I think you're asking for a little bit of trouble, because it's like sometimes it's like where I guess conceptually, it's like if you talk to all of those guys about where they feel the beat, it's going to be at a different place, man. It's all going to be at a different place. So if the drums are constantly moving to a different place, it changes where the center of the music is, in my opinion. Now, both, you and I mean, we have we like to push the beat a lot, right? So, and if you're playing with the cat, that is also pushing, then what happens? It's like, we've seen this. I've seen it a million times where this cat is constantly trying to get on top of this. He's trying to get on top of the next thing you know, the tune is 20 beats per minute faster than where it started, because they're constantly trying to get on top. Same thing if you're constantly trying to fall behind somebody, just like you were talking about earlier, Robert. It's like if somebody's laying behind the beat, which a couple of those, they like to play a little bit more behind. I can't play behind, because then they're going to play behind me, and then the tune is going to get dragged down to the gutter. So somebody has to establish, like, here it is. Let's try to figure this out, and I think all of those cats that I just mentioned are all very good at that. Kevin I haven't played with Kevin in a long time, but I played hours with Kevin Smith, back, over time, but we hadn't played together in a while, just because he's been teaching at Love It. He hasn't really been doing that many gigs in town, but we played last week at Red Light together. We hadn't played, and it was killing, because they're just, you figure it out. You have to figure it out. But what do you think about that, Frankie? Do you feel like you have to change where you're playing if the bass player is playing in one direction, or do you think, like, okay, somebody's got to play the center of the beat and keep and then you got to kind of figure it out from there? How do you adjust there?
I don't think it's, for me, it's, if we're talking Latin music, it's fundamentals. We all have to play the fundamental beat. You know what I mean? We all have to play. Clave is the center of the universe in Latin music, and we all have to play on clave. The music will tell you if you are overplaying, if you are too ahead, too behind, if you're overplaying, if you're overdoing it, the music is going to tell you that. I think that's across any kind of music, whether you're swinging, whether you're playing Latin music, the music is going to automatically tell you. It's just not going to feel right if we are not all on the same page in terms of playing fundamentals. So if I'm playing, I'm not necessarily trying to adapt to a bass player, right? We have a fundamental thing, which is, in Latin music, is clave. Let's make that our center. Let's play off of that. And the music is going to tell us if we are doing too much or two less. If it will tell you. And for me, if you're a musician, you've prepared. Those fundamentals need to be there. And in terms of what you guys are saying, I've gone out to see swing bands and jazz trios and different configuration of jazz groups where the bass player and drummer are not on the same page. And the first thing that comes to me is like, man, they've got no fundamentals. Man, just swing, just swing. The music is going to tell you what you need to play. But I've been to shows where you could see, like, these cats are not on the same page. And you will see the singer turning around, giving you looks, giving the band looks, and you can just feel the band not being together. Same thing in Latin music. If I'm leading a band and bass player is doing too much, I will, we have certain things we do, like, hey, pull back, let's we're here to serve the music. But for me, the key thing is fundamentals. That's really, once you know the music fundamentals, and you can hear that, like, you hear great bands like Gran Como from Puerto Rico. Why are they consistent? They're just locked into those fundamentals. You hear Grupo Nietzsche out of Colombia, another band locked in the fundamentals, and they have a bunch of virtuosos in their band. Their timbalero Diego Camacho is like incredible on all things percussion, but when you see them in that band, fundamentals, you see them locked in, driving the band on this bell. You see them playing in clave, and it's like, that it's inspiring that this cat is so incredible, but he has these fundamentals. And I think that's really the key. And I tell cats all the time, new cats in the band that we're playing, like, bro, it's really not that complicated. Let's just, fundamentals. And it's going to feel good.
In an ideal world, Frankie.
Well, Chris, we're also talking to Boom. We also talking to Chris Burrow.
No. My point is, I'm gonna leave it to Robert on this one. You have guys that will fight you, bro, tooth and nail. You know what I'm talking about, Robert. I mean, and I'm not. It's not about fundamentals, Frankie. It's about I'm right and you're wrong, and that happens a lot in especially like in smaller groups. It's you get into situations with guys where, and it could be this, right, Robert? It could be like, hey man, I'm the new guy. It's cool. Wherever y'all want it, that's where I'm going to put it. But in, like, if you're swinging, man, it can get super, super, super interesting because some cats just can't hear the top of the beat. And especially when you talk about like swing music, and I guess we just call forward motion, right? You want that forward motion in the music, especially if you're playing something that's, more towards go in the up tempo thing. Man, there's nothing worse than somebody that's pulling against you and won't let it. Sometimes maybe it is a fun. Actually, it might be a fundamental thing. They just can't do it, right? It is what it is. But some cats, I think sometimes it does come down to an ego thing. And I'm throwing out what I've experienced. What do you think, Rob? Like, I mean, because I think it might be a little bit different, man. But I don't know. You tell me. What do you think, Robert, about that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. But like, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier about just having different approaches. So when you do get to that spot where you have someone, it's like, okay, this is song number 3 on this gig, and this bass player is not budging, and so nothing's gonna happen.
Exactly,
he's not gonna change for the rest of the gig. So at that point, I'm thinking I got 2 choices. We can fight all night,
Right.
Or like I think about it like kind of what Frankie was saying with the vocalist. Like if the vocalist is on top of the beat, they kind of want their drummer to play a little bit on the back. Um, Kind of create some sort of balance and some, I guess the average is right in the middle somewhere if you've got somebody on top and somebody behind. So I think about it like that in terms of like going back to the whole problem solving thing. Okay, clearly the pulse is not right, and a lot of times when the feel is not right, people turn around and look at the drummer immediately, as if no one else has anything to do with it. But
That's right.
So in that moment, I'm like, all right, I can either sit here and we can fight about it, or I can try to do something to make whatever he's playing, to at least try to make that, or to at least help that be a little bit closer to what we need as a group. When you walk into a new situation, like as a new drummer, there's obviously already a band pulse that you kind of got to respect. And if they don't want you to, they'll tell you like, okay, we're looking to go in a different direction drum wise. So like bring your thing to this. And that's kind of rare. That's kind of a rare thing. So usually when you're coming into, if you're subbing or just taking the gig over from someone, you have to kind of pay homage or respect to what happened before, and then you maybe can get away with some liberties later on. But the idea is just to be flexible and not be the one that won't change under any circumstances. Now I always approach just trying to play down the center, and then we'll try to if we'll kind of figure it out from there. If I feel like you're more on top, then I'll try to balance it out with a little bit on the back. There's a great record that I have this exact observation on. It's McCoy Tyner. It's a record called Trident. And it's like Elvin Jones, but it's Ray Brown as well. And they have two different, way too different concepts of where the pulse is. But it really it sounds killing. And when I first read it, I was like, "There's no way this record is going to sound like the way I thought it would." But it's super swinging, and they play ballads, up tempo stuff, some Latin stuff. They do it all, but they like the way they kind of maneuver it is I think that's a great record to listen to for this exact type of thing. Who's going to tell Ray Brown he's wrong? Who's going to tell Elvin he's wrong? Like that you'd be wrong to say either one of them were wrong necessarily.
Right.
It's just how they just bring, that's just their concept to the table. So obviously when you're working with people on that level, it's a little bit different than, the person you don't feel as highly about as you do Ray Brown. That's a local guy that is just really just being stubborn about the pulse. So,
right.
You hope everybody's going to be flexible and come into the table to try to work together. But in the event that it's not, you got to be prepared for that too.
Right. Okay. Well, I like both y'all's, they're just, at the end of the day, you just trying to make good music, man. That's the bottom line. And and some cats, man, and also sometimes you just don't vibe with that other cat, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you're right and he's wrong, or he's right and you're, what I'm saying? It's just like it's just not gonna work, and
right.
That's cool too. Because I've heard guys where
you got some stories, Chris. You got some stories you're not saying.
No, I mean, I think that, and because like I said, I mean, I'm not definitely exempt from being wrong. You know what I mean? Like, especially in certain situations, like you can only be yourself. I think that's the main thing. Like, there's some cats that just they can morph. They can morph into, and those are the guys that normally, I mean, I think we're all chameleons to a degree, but your feel, man, it's really hard to cop another cat's feel. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but it's almost impossible to cop somebody's feel because it's not you, like you can study it.
At the same time, like you have to play for the music, and
right.
At some point, and in some situations you have to remove yourself from yourself and play for the music, and quick story, big salsa singer came into town. I got the call very, very last minute, no time to prepare. Tell the truth, Chris, tell it. Bro, I had no time to prepare. I go to the sound check, man, and the bass player is leading the band. And this guy is iconic in Puerto Rico. Like, I've been watching this dude since I was in diapers. So the nerve levels are, anxiety's already up. I'm kind of sight reading as best as I can. And I was kind of familiar with the song, so it worked out. But I remember the bass player in the talkback mic kept telling me about my timing. And I kept looking at this dude like, okay, I hear you, but he kept saying it, kept saying it, kept saying it. And first, I'm here doing you a favor. Like, your Conga player, I don't know what happened to him. I'm here doing you a solid.
Right.
See, it's not just me, Frankie.
But but at the same time, I'm also playing next to one of the greatest timbaleros ever, which is the great Tito de Gracia from Puerto Rico. So I'm like not trying to act out. I'm trying to do the job, be professional. And so I said, man, I'm gonna take my phone out and just record the rehearsal, because I need to know what this cat, what is he talking about? Is it something I'm not listening to? And he was just being, man, just totally tough the whole rehearsal. After rehearsal, I go up to him. I'm like, hey, man, what's the deal? Really, what's the deal? What do I need to do? Like, all the things that respectful person says. And he's just like, nah, man, you got to be in the pocket, man, if you're going to play here. And I'm like, I am in the pocket, And I remember going to lunch with Tito de Gracia and saying, what, am I doing something wrong? And he's like, man, you got to listen to certain things, certain nuances that he's playing on the bass. Listen to what the piano's playing. He goes, I know you're capable, bro. I know you can do it. I hear your sound, and I know that you can play. You just gotta listen to these little nuances, and you're gonna be in there. You're gonna be great, And when I started listening to those things, and one was I learned that the bass player, as iconic as he was, he didn't know how to communicate what Tito had said to me, And once I got what he was saying, I'm like, oh. And man, the show was great. At the end of the show, he was like, man, you were like great. Let me get your number. Let's work more. Mm-hmm. But again, it was, had I did the Puerto Rican Frank and flipped out, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would have been off of a gig, but just listening to what he was trying to say, asking other cats, hey, what does he mean? And luckily, Tito de Gracia was gracious enough to take his time and walk me through it, because he's like, hey, man, I hear your sound, like, dude, you can play. You just got to listen to these little nuances and you're going to be fine, But if I would have been with the attitude, that's it. Now them cats come into town and I get called all the time simply because, listen, remove myself from myself, Chris. I didn't tell it, Chris. You didn't tell it? I mean, that's what kind of worked for me, And I want to shout out, there's some percussionists in the chat that are incredible friends of mine. Danny Vargas from Washington, D.C., my little brother, Poopy, Christopher Gonzalez, who's insane. Shout out to those guys. Those guys are incredible percussionists, and they're lighting the chat up with comments and stuff. But these are great cats, man. Love you guys, man. Thank you for tuning in.
Welcome to the show, guys. Everybody that's coming in that has not been here, we really appreciate y'all being here. And please keep coming with the comments, man. We do have some questions. So there's a young drummer that may be his first time checking out the show. Wonder Gaming Shorts 6242. Thanks for checking us out, man. He says, Hello, I'm an intermediate church drummer. I'm kind of stuck. Been practicing my kick for now. Been playing the songs, which really brought me back to love drums. What's the next step? Robert, you want to take that one on?
Sounds like the next step. It really reads like technique is becoming an issue. It kind of sounds like he's getting back to playing songs, which he's liking, but like they may be at a point where they're too difficult without just studying some more technique stuff. I know you was mentioning just practicing the kick. I remember doing that too when I was growing up, specifically Outkast, So Fresh and So Clean, that bass drum. Just trying to work that out on my right foot. You know, the groupings of three that would trip me up pretty much for years. And then one day I got it. But it just sounds like you might need to. I would be curious if enough this person studying this with anyone, or if they're just trying to do it on their own, or what. Because you can. You know, I always talk about like technique is really only a vehicle to get out what it is that you're hearing. For me, that's what I think about in terms of drum set. So, because I'm not gonna, you know, if I don't feel comfortable with it, like going for it, sometimes I won't even try it. But I'll hear something, and the next day I got to go practice that lick, so that the next time I hear it and it comes up, I'm not afraid to try it. But I know I get caught up with that personally, so that could be a little bit of what's going on too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. If you're not, you know, super hip to rudiments, that's a great way to start building, you know, your vocabulary and some dexterity. There's many different, you know, I'm not real. I love to collect drum books, but I never really studied out of too many of them. But there are some gems. Stick control, you know, is without a because that's something that you will use for your entire life, because you can use it in so many different ways. So I would recommend picking up a copy of that, and that'll get you sort of, you know, getting your hands and stuff together, and then just listen to the drummers that you want to be like, you know, and study, just listen to them. And but I love the fact that you're playing the songs. I think that's super important. Maybe in my opinion, the most important thing is playing the songs, and you'll figure it out, young man. So Frank, you got anything to add?
Yeah, man, I would get lessons, you know. One of my biggest regrets early on was not getting formal lessons early in my drumming, you know, journey, because you can get the books, you can get the stick controls, you can get the rudiment books, but once I got a teacher that taught me how to walk through the books and actually learn what's happening in the books, and how to apply what's happening in the books to my everyday playing at church, everyday playing in Latin music. Having a teacher is super instrumental in your development as a drummer, because you'll start to learn your instrument the way it's supposed to be played, and really you will sound a lot better when you have just direction, you know, on your instrument, because you can buy all of the books, but having a guide to walk you through those books and really break down what's happening in those books, and applying it to what it is you're playing every day, I think is the next step for you, at the level that you're at. And I think, man, from there, the world is yours, man, from a drumming perspective.
Yeah, man, I love it. Guys, we got to do a part 2, man. We got to do a part 2. We're gonna close it out here. We've been on here for a couple hours, but there's one subject, and this is a cool subject that I think, man, a lot of drummers struggle with, that I kind of want to quickly just just talk about for a second, and maybe we can just sort of give just some perspective on maybe how to go about doing that. And this is a cymbal selection. This is one of the things that I think, man, is super. It's kind of like a cats can be real secretive about this for some reason. You know, it's like you spend. If I had all the money that I spent on cymbals that I don't like, man, I have me some bad cymbals right now, because that journey of trying to, it's almost like, I don't know what you could even compare it to. Maybe like wine. If people are into wine, it kind of goes through that same thing. It's like you you might start with some I don't, what's a low rent wine, some Asti Spumante. Remember that? Asti Spumante. Some Merlot that you got at the local convenience store, that gives you a headache for 3 years. It's like there's a progression, right? But I mean, that's the only thing I can that's like I guess an analogy. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of other things, but cymbals, man, because I get a lot of questions about this, and I sometimes don't even know how to answer it. I'm like, man, you just start dropping mortgage payments, man, on cymbals. That's the only thing I can freaking think about. Like,
yeah,
because your ear changes, and then depending on the type of music that you're playing, some cymbals work, some cymbals don't. There's the fad of everybody just playing dark cymbals on these pop shows, and you don't hear nothing. I'm like, you can't. Everybody with everything is trashy. Nothing's cutting. Nothing's adding to them. It's like, but it's just these, and I don't know where that came from, but that's one of the more bizarre ones. Is like, why are everybody's cymbals so dark and like on these gigs now, where nothing has any tone, or you can't even really hear the cymbal. So anyway, let's talk about cymbal selection, man. I'm gonna start with you, Robert, and because you've played church gigs, you've played, hip hop gigs, R&B gigs, funk gigs, jazz gigs. Do you have different cymbals for everything that you play? That's a good question. We're going to start there. Do you have different cymbals for everything you play?
I do now. But like I didn't. And I remember actually, I don't even know if you remember this, but I talked to Hugh one time at Twain's about hi-hats. Because actually, I think I bought a pair from you. Like
you bought a pair of some Phosphorus Turks or something like that.
Yep. And they had rivets on the bottom. But which I don't even have those anymore. But this is kind of taking me to my point. Like when I heard you play them, they sounded a certain way. So when I got them, I was like looking for that same type of sound. But we have different techniques. We, we're just different players.
That's a good point. Yep.
You know what I mean? So it didn't sound the same because our touches are different on cymbals. So so I think a lot of cymbal selection is a ton of trial and error. Like I've even played some stuff in a Guitar Center or in a store, and I'm like, this is it. I pick it up, and then I go to a gig, and I'm like, this can't be the same cymbal that I just paid for. It just can't be. But it is. So one thing that I've gotten really smart about is if I buy any type of cymbal now, it's definitely used, and I try my best to go to shop from places that will allow returns, because I'm just like, I can't be stuck with anything else I don't like. I got enough cymbals that I'm trying to get rid of, actually. So a lot of it is trial and error. I do try to pick, like kind of what you were saying, like you can't use the dark cymbals on your more pop stuff where you need kind of more cutting things. But I try to have stuff that I know will work in different genres, and then if it's something that kind of meets in the middle across different things, and that's where I really get into trouble because I want to bring like 12 cymbals to every gig, even though I'm only going to play 4. But I'm like, yeah, but that one cymbal would sound perfect on this one song, and it's just not really realistic. So I do have like cymbals for different genres, but then I have like a good general pair that I could play on pretty much anything. That's somewhere kind of in the middle. But like for a recording studio setup, like I'm definitely trying to bring as much stuff as I can just to really dial it in for that specific thing. But you know, it's just not realistic on the live shows to change out cymbals every single song. So
unless you're Ralph Peterson,
right?
God rest his soul.
Right, rest in peace. Yeah, right.
Whoa, my man Ralph, boy.
Yeah. Bad dude.
Oh my gosh. So cool. All right. Well, Frankie, as a percussionist, you know, obviously you deal with cymbals, but you also play drum set. So you're in the game. But what I want to hear from you, man, is your take on when you hear a drummer's cymbal or cymbals and you're like, yeah. And then I also want to hear your take when you hear drummer cymbals and you're like, what the hell is that? So I want you to kind of go both. You can start with either side, but I want to hear both sides because I think this is important because what cats hear, man, is super important to the music. So give us your take on both of those things.
A cat that I really enjoy playing. Well, I haven't played with Boone a whole lot, but I know when I play with you, you always got different cymbals because you're bringing the cymbals that are for the gig, which I appreciate that. Another cat that I really love playing with is Lewis Newsom Sticks.
Yeah.
He is like, I don't know, he goes down his basement and stares at the cymbals he's going to use for about 4 hours. And we'll go like hand pick them, you know, for the gig, for the artist. And, you know, I've played with him on, you know, backing up countless smooth jazz artists. And it's always, I mean, he's a Sabian guy, but it's always a different color of Sabians because he's picking the cymbals for, you know, what he's playing. And he's always great, you know, to play with. Another cat who's great that I played in different situations is Little John. You know, we'll do a jazz thing and he'll have different cymbals. We'll do a funk thing, he'll have different cymbals. And really really selective with the colors of his cymbals based on who he's playing with. Then you have cats, right, that are just pulling out, you know, the Wuhans, you know, still pulling out the Wuhans, right? And they'll have that big Wuhan China, man.
Yep.
And don't matter what the tune is, bro, they will smack that thing. And it's like, I mean, the whole band, even the audience is like, whoa, right? But most importantly, the band is like, whoa, you know. And nothing against Wuhan because, hey, I got a Wuhan and it serves its purpose when it needs to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, it serves its purpose when it needs to, but when the cat brings like, I'm not down in Wuhan, but brings that color symbol every time, the same symbol every time. And most importantly, they're playing it the same, right?
Yeah.
Because a cat could have the same symbols, but it's how they're playing them for the situation. So it's not always about having the most expensive set of symbols. It's about how you're playing them. But if you have a cat that brings the same set of symbols and is playing them the same way, that to me is like, bro, you really haven't studied cymbal playing. or cymbal selection. And cymbals are, like you said, they're very expensive. So, man, if you can't get yourself a series of cymbals, then you really have to learn how to play, that cymbal.
Yeah.
And so that's my experience. You know what I mean? If you have cats who are very selective, very smart, they'll pick the right, and most importantly, they'll play them the right way for the situation. Then you have cats who will bring out that one symbol, and because it sounds unique, man, they're smacking that thing, or having the same series of symbols and then playing them just not tasteful or for what the music is calling for. You know what I mean?
Man,
And so, and for me, like I'm a Zildjian guy. It's always been in my family. But, for salsa, there's a series of symbols that I use. There's an El Sonido, which is really popular in salsa music. I'm using now on my timbal, I'm playing 17-inch paper thin Zildjian that is great for all, for that kind of music. But some years ago I went to New York and everybody, name salsa timbaleros were playing the Sabian B8.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, this is the sound. And I'm like, I'm like, man, I got one of those like in the garage corner somewhere, but again, it's how they were playing that cymbal, so, and my point in bringing up the B8 is you don't have to have this high end cymbal. You just have to know how to play the cymbal. Because when I heard, these cats playing that B8, I'm like, man, that thing sounds pretty good. I was like, man, that thing sounds pretty good, and then it was like I started seeing how I'm like, oh, it's how they're playing that cymbal. So it's not just about quality of cymbal, it's about the quality of the player as well.
Yeah, but there might be something in that B8, just like the way that the frequency is, because we all had one. Everybody's had a B8.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
everybody had to be.
You hit it the right way. It's
the whole.
Especially like in salsa, which is you're hitting a lot of horn hits.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it gets in there and out of there quick.
Yeah.
But it's about how you're playing that cymbal. You just ain't riding that thing. You know what I mean? And so
right. Yeah, like the K custom and that ain't gonna work, man. With the it don't work with the salsa, man. It don't work. It's too it's too clean. It's too good. It's too, you know what I mean? There's something I don't know. I'm kind of messing around, but yeah, there's something about, and man, that rings a bell because I remember a long time ago. This is like back in the like maybe the 90s, late 90s, when I was really checking out a lot of Latin jazz and salsa, and it seems like that came up, man. Something about the B8. Some cats was using like a B8, man, and it was like, and it was killing. I can't.
Yeah, like they'll have like $1,000 pair of timbales, and timbal bells that's a whole nother podcast too. How to select your bell.
Oh man, I got stories about that.
It's a whole science,
I got stories about that, man.
You can get crazy with that, but they'll have literally set up, over $2,000 worth of gear, and then on the cymbal stand, the B8.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? And when I saw that, I was like, the B8. But when they start smacking that thing in the right way, I was like, man, that thing sound kind of good,
Yep.
Something about the way it cuts through the music, the way it cuts through the music. But so yeah, I think depending on the style of music, because people do get they get seduced by brands, and that's fine. But I think it's definitely a journey picking cymbals. like and learning how to pick cymbals. And you know, I was fortunate, man, to have a couple of friends that would just let me check stuff out. You know, they would loan me different things. I had no money to buy nothing at the time, and but they would just loan me. I mean, I remember Melvin Baldwin, man, let me check out. This is back in like 96 or 97. And the K Custom Ride had just come out. I mean, it just basically had just kind of come out, man. And he had one. And he let me check it out, man. Like, I mean, it's like that, and that gives you like an idea of like, you know, if you can play it on a gig and you can kind of hear it. And because just like one of you guys, I can't remember which one of you guys, but it's like, man, just because a cymbal is a so-and-so doesn't mean it's going to sound, it's Robert, doesn't mean it's going to sound like how this cat played with, you know, it's not going to sound like, because you got a whole different, plus the sticks you use. Are you using nylon tip? Are you using wood tip? Are you using a 7A? Are you using a 5B? So all of those little things, man, it's like, you know, you kind of just have to go. There's no like school really for that. You know, you just have to kind of go and you have to experiment and and figure it out through many, many hours of frustration, you know, of buying something, just like you said, Robert, and then all of a sudden you get it home, you get it on a gig, you're like, this ain't it at all. What was I even? Because that's another thing. Cymbals are going to sound different by themselves than they do with the music or with a band, and depending on, and then don't even talk about the room you're playing.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? How do you judge? You can't, you know, it takes a long time to figure that out. But as Robert said, the best thing is you want a selection that you can pull from for different situations. That's about the best, you know, advice that I can give. You guys agree with that?
Definitely. One more thing though, too, speaking of brands and everything, like I know specifically like with the Zildjian and the K Constantinoples, right? They're all hand hammered. So just because, you know, you might go hear someone, they got a 20-inch medium thin high. So you go to the store and you go buy a 20-inch medium thin high, and it is not the same cymbal. And when you learn that lesson, you know, $600 later, or if, you know, maybe even more, you know, then you start to become a little bit more selective about, you know, the stuff that you're doing, and focus less on the name and focus more on, you know, the sound of the cymbal, and you know, making sure like when you go check out cymbals, take your sticks, take your like whatever, like what you're saying, like take what
play with the stick that you're going to use, right?
Exactly.
Definitely. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff makes a difference, but you know, you don't really learn that in school or in a textbook. You got to just kind of, you know, got to hear it from somebody. That's what this podcast is great. Maybe we can help someone else out.
Yeah, and don't buy cymbals because your favorite drummer has that cymbal. Some years ago, I saw Brian Blade, man, and I bought some 15-inch. Bro, I bought some 15-inch K Europes. You know, man, when they first came out, they were expensive, man. I went to the store, I played them. I'm like, Brian Blade, here we go. Man, I came home, I put them on it. Bro, they're still downstairs in the corner, man. They for sale. If somebody wants the things, and I remember having a conversation with Marlon Patton about this. I'm like, bro, I bought these 15-inch. Bro, they don't sound, you know. And he was like, why would you do that? He was like, man, like, no, that is never going to be me. That is never going to be you.
Yeah.
You know, hey, they
but also,
there, man.
Also, he ain't buying his cymbals from the store you bought your cymbals from, bro. Right. That cat is he's either at the factory or he's getting samples from the factory.
I missed that part. I got inspired, man. I was inspired, bro.
Man, as soon as I found that out, man, about like, I'm like, wait a minute. All these symbols. So funny thing is, Paiste is okay. So other than the traditionals, the Paiste traditionals, which are all handmade, everything, they're all different. But the other like if you buy a Paiste 2002, you go get a Paiste 2002, regardless of, because it's made, they're all made the exact same way on the machine, right? If you buy a Paiste, there's several lines of Paiste symbols that are going to be the exact symbol. That's what they're made. Now the traditionals, I found this out. Steve Jordan was playing these Paiste traditional symbols, right? I was like, oh, Paiste, I can go buy, because they're going to be the exact same symbol that Steve Jordan has. Man, I bought this Paiste symbol, man. This thing had so many freaking overtones and wash to it, bro. I it's like, and I'm heavy-handed as it is. So I hit that symbol, dude. All it was just frequencies going everywhere. I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't sound like the symbol that Steve Jordan. I heard Steve Jordan playing. They're like, dude, the traditionals they're all handmade. They're all going to be. I was like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So, but that's just it's just learning, man. It's man, that's a hard lesson to be learning too, man. I mean, how much money have y'all spent, bro? On symbols, man. Ooh. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, it's not good.
let's not talk about that. Matter of fact, we're done with this show because now I'm depressed. All right, guys, listen, great show. I think Drum Talk is the success, bro. I kind of,
I don't think we need that piano player.
I might have to change the name of this show. Nah, man, great show. We touched on some stuff, man. There's a million other things that we could talk about. So, but listen, y'all see the QR code in the corner. I want y'all to be at this here. What are we doing, Frankie? We got this little thing coming up on Sunday, 6:30 to 8:30. Y'all come and check out some Latin rhythms. We're going to be breaking some stuff down. Hey, we even rehearsing for y'all, man. We got to rehearse. We rehearsing. Yeah. So don't disappoint us because we know people. Yeah. We know people. I don't want to hear no excuses. And certain somebody says, wow.
Oh, man.
Hey, man, it happens, man. It happens. So listen, Robert, you at Red Light tomorrow night, my man?
Yep, back at Red Light. Thank you for filling in, man.
Yes,
I hope it went well last week.
It did, man. It was a lot of fun. Cool. Gordon Vernick was very happy with it.
Yeah, I'm there tomorrow with Tommy Sauter, Louis Haribo, and Gordon Vernick. So.
Oh, snap.
Should be fun.
All right. I might have to come through. To come through, man.
Jesse.
Hey.
The lady from Matanzas.
Yes.
I haven't forgotten about you. I was asking about you, Jesse, but I heard you moved. You don't live here anymore. So.
She's on her way. We bringing her back.
You bringing her back? Okay. Okay. Well, if she come back, we got to do, because we got some stuff to do now. We trying to find it earlier, but yeah. Would love to do something with you at some point, Jesse. Thanks for checking in the show. And got another Robert B14. Great Robert show. B. Thanks Robert for checking it out. Oh, is that who that is?
I think that thumbnail was a picture of me from high school playing.
Oh,
jeez.
That's Bobby, man. I don't hear no rest. Bobby. Bobby. What's going on, man? Hope you guys are well. Hope y'all are well.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking it out. Lamatino always coming with the most drummers or cymbal. Well, I don't know about that, John. I know some drummers that ain't cymbal minded, and that's the problem. That's the problem. So,
yeah, man.
But anyway, great show, guys. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We might have to continue, man. We'll see what Cat's schedule is, and we might have to continue drum talk, man. Drum talk. So
let's do it again for sure.
Let's do it again. All right, guys. We will see you all next time, right? When is
for sure
next week? I got to check and see. There's so much going on. We are a little sporadic, I know, with the streams. Just Tuesday nights, there's been stuff kind of popping up, and then of course through the holidays, everybody's just like, there's always concerts and different stuff going on Tuesdays. But we will try to be as consistent as we can. So, all right, guys, we love y'all. Subscribe to the show, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, tell people about it, and we will see you all